That sharp, gut-wrenching crash of a window shattering, the kind that doesn't even feel real at first, stripped me out of bed at 6:30 on a Saturday morning. I stumbled downstairs barefoot, still in sweatpants, my heart hammering like a jackhammer. My front bay window, the one I'd replaced just last fall, was a mess of jagged shards scattered across the levying room floor like some twisted celebration gone wrong. And there, standing in my yard, gripping a decorative concrete planter like it was a weapon, was Linda. Her real name was Marjorie Hensley, but if anyone ever fit the Linda stereotype, it was her, middle-aged, leathery from too much sun, with a platinum bob so rigid it could have doubled as armor, and a voice that could strip paint off a wall. She'd crowned herself president of the Maple Grove HOA, a role she wielded like it granted her absolute authority. "I warned you, Michael," she shrieked, pointing at me like she was hexing me. "You can't live here and dodge the HOA. You're either with us or against us, and if you're against us, you're gone." I just stared, still half asleep, trying to wrap my head around it. "You threw a planter through my window? You gave me no choice," she snapped, her eyes blazing. "You've ignored every deadline, every notice. I'm done being patient." I didn't argue. I turned, went inside, grabbed my phone, and called the sheriff. She kept yelling something about regret and how I should have paid the dues and painted my non-existent fence approved taupe. Maple Grove's HOA was optional, but optional meant nothing to Marjorie. A deputy arrived 20 minutes later. By then, Marjorie had scurried across the street, pretending to trim her shrubs like she hadn't just committed a felony. I handed over evidence, a photo of the smashed window, a security cam still of her mid-throw, and a folder of her threatening letters. The deputy gave her a stern talking to, took my statement, and said I could press charges. I did. That should have ended it, but Marjorie wasn't done. She was just warming up. Over the next 2 weeks, she went full tantrum mode. First, she reported a code violation because my trash cans were viewable. Then she claimed my dog was aggressive for barking at her lingering on my sidewalk. The breaking point? A fake violation notice on my door about non-compliant grass length, signed with a forged county inspector's name. I stayed calm, biding my time because I was through playing defense. What Marjorie didn't know was that I'm not just some quiet guy who moved here for peace. I'm Michael Grayson, a CIVIL litigation attorney with 23 years in the courtroom. The last person who tried to push me around lost their house and half their retirement. I documented everything, every rant, every fake fine, every threat. I added 2 new security cameras, one hidden in a garden gnome she always stared at, the other aimed at her front door from my upstairs window. Then I dug deeper. A title search revealed she owned a paid-off cabin in the Smoky Mountains, under her name alone. More digging uncovered she'd been siphoning HOA funds meant for landscaping into a sham company, Hensley Property Solutions, registered to her own address. This wasn't just vandalism anymore. I was building a case for destruction of property, harassment, fraud, embezzlement, and forgery, topped with a hefty claim for punitive damages. When the summons arrived, I watched from my porch as she read it, her face cycling through shock, denial, and fury in seconds. She stormed over, finger wagging. "You can't do this. You're not even in the HO." "Exactly," I said, shutting the door in her face. The court date was set 6 weeks out. Things went quiet, too quiet. Marjorie stopped her neighborhood patrols, and the HOA Facebook group, where she posted nonstop, fell silent. Word spread she bullied others too, threatening a widow with foreclosure over a loose mailbox screw, fining a couple for unapproved wind chimes. Her reign was crumbling. I spent those weeks gathering ammo, notarized letters from a dozen neighbors about her abuses, some willing to testify, financial breakdowns of her embezzlement simple enough for anyone to grasp. By the trial, I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for everyone she terrorized. In court, the judge watched the security footage of her hurling that planter like an Olympian and cut her lawyer off. "Explain why an HOA president thinks it's fine to smash property over voluntary dues," he demanded. She stammered, speechless. I sat back, knowing this was just the start. A week before trial, a man named Harold Tate called, gruff, straight to the point, addressing me as counselor. He'd been on Maple Grove's original development board, now retired 2 states away. His niece, an early Marjorie target, had tipped him off. "She's twisted the founding documents," he said. "I wrote the original charter, added fake rules. He sent me the authentic bylaws, notarized and signed. Compared to Marjorie's version, Hers was loaded with invented enforcement clauses. I filed them with the judge, lighting a legal firestorm. 3 days later, I saw 2 cars outside Marjorie's, a sleek sedan and an SUV with government plates. A man in a suit, carrying a thick portfolio, walked up her driveway. An hour later, the sedan left. She didn't emerge. That night, an elderly neighbor, Ellen, brought me a bag of damning EVY Denke, secret HOA meeting minutes, emails from Marjorie's sham company, a spreadsheet showing consulting fees, and a DULA 4000 travel reimbursement. For an Aruba trip she'd claimed was a landscaping grant meeting. Ellen even had a postcard from Aruba signed, M, boasting about pina coladas. It all went into my case. Court day arrived rainy and tense. Half the neighborhood showed up. Marjorie walked in late, her lawyer disheveled, her blazer too tight. I laid out the financial fraud, fake bylaws, and witness accounts a dad fined for his kids' curtains. A couple threatened over solar panels, Ellen exposing the Aruba lie. The judge didn't flinch when I played the planter footage. After a brief recess, he ruled, Ms. Hensley, you're liable for property destruction, fraud, embezzlement, and harassment. Restitution of DULA 78,000, your HOA roll dissolved, and a lien on your Smoky Mountain property. She sat stunned. Post-trial, neighbors thanked me, some jokingly suggesting I run for HOA president. I declined. I just wanted quiet. The lien cleared, her cabin sold for DULA 120,000. I took my share, donated some to charity, and built my dream woodworking studio. The rest funded a new resident-managed community pot. Marjorie moved out silently, her name erased from the directory. A new president, Sarah, brought transparency, no more surprise fines, just votes and reports. One evening, a neighbor grinned, hell of a throw she made. Yeah, I laughed, too bad she picked the wrong target. Maple Grove shifted after that. The tension faded, replaced by a calm I hadn't felt since Emma weighing in. People started asking me how to safeguard against another Marjorie. Sarah recruited me for a 3-month transition committee to audit the books and rewrite the rules. I agreed reluctantly, helping draft a charter with no loopholes like the emergency powers clause Marjorie could have exploited. We uncovered more. Marjorie had accomplices, ex-board members paid bonuses. We exposed them, sparking a neighborhood review. Val volunteers repainted common areas, cleared trails, and took ownership. My last committee day, I handed off my notes and walked away. At a community cookout I hadn't planned to attend, I saw the change. Kids proposing dog parks, neighbors laughing, no fear. Marjorie's house sat dark, her cabin now a kids' retreat. The county even called, thanking Mimi case had sparked a wider HOA review. I didn't dive back in, but I kept woodworking, finishing a white oak table in my studio. The neighborhood had balance now, and for the first time I wasn't just levying here, I belonged.